Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Fumi Owo. Thank you all so very much for joining, and welcome to today's edition of the Supermoms Knowledge Series. Today's Supermoms Knowledge Series is about what your child should know about money. And we thank you, moms, dads, and everyone joining this webinar from all over the world. Today, we have with us participants from Nigeria, the United States, South Africa, Canada, and the United Kingdom. Thank you. We're so glad that you're able to join us today. Just before we move on, I'd like to take us through a few housekeeping rules. Firstly, please note that this webinar is live and interactive, so we'll be interacting with you through polls and other fun activities. We would love you to participate, so please do when the polls come up. Also, the webinar is being recorded so that it can be made available to other parents who are not able to make this live session. If you have any questions, comments, or reactions, please make use of the chat box at the bottom of your screen. We'll try as much as possible to take all your questions during the question and answer session at the end of the guest speaker's presentation. And if at any point in time you'd like to speak, please raise your hand by using the raise hand tab or by clicking on the green tick at the bottom right corner of your screen, and we will unmute your microphone. If by any means you're having technical challenges such as poor audio, poor video during the presentation, kindly send a message to the host for assistance. We'll be very happy to help you. Thank you. Very shortly, we'll be going into the main session. But just before this, we would love you to be a part of something very special that we're doing in today's edition. We'd love you to be a part of the unveiling of the Supermoms logo. And to be a part of this, the poll, which is a teaser question, will appear on the count of three. And all you're required to do is to pick one of the options from A to C. You should see it on your slide any moment from now. And the question is, can you guess what the Supermoms logo looks like? There's a hint that should help you guess. So the hint is, I'm at my largest in the blue whale. I am strong and I beat. And what connects the dots together? I hope that's helpful. This poll should take a few seconds. Please don't Google the answer. However, you can ask your kids using the hints. Yeah. So I'm guessing we have, okay. I'm just waiting for the answers to come in, the results of the polls to come in. So please click, choose an option A to C. Thank you for participating. Remember, we mentioned from the beginning, we'd love you to join us. Just click. Do you think the logo is A? Do you think it's B or C? We're waiting for you. Okay. Okay, so while we wait for the answers to come in, if you have put in your answer, thank you very much for participating. That was impressive. We'll be doing a full reveal of the Supermom logo after the guest speaker's presentation. Please ensure to stay with us till the very end of this webinar. We'd love to reveal with you. Now let's talk about the Supermoms Foundation. The group Supermoms started in 2019. Okay, I have my results in now. 38% of us are saying the logo would be A. 13% are saying B. 50% are going for C. Interesting. So we'll know which exactly is correct And for the guest speaker's presentation, please stay till the end so that you can know if what you picked is the right one. Thank you so much for participating. Well done. Now let's talk about the Supermoms Foundation. The group Supermoms started in 2019 as a community where mothers across different ages share their parenting experiences, challenges, and learn from each other on motherhood and different techniques on how to raise children. We have a Mom's Day Out where mothers across various professions and businesses take a day off twice a year. On this day, we happily leave the kids and the home front to the dads while we go out just to have fun. And fun could be a day at the beach, at the spa, or any other activities planned for the day. However, last year, we decided to take the super moms a notch higher by reaching out to more moms and also including
Um, my apologies, we just lost Fumi Owo, so I'll just take over pending when she joins us. So the Supermoms started in 2019 as a community where mothers across different ages network, learn, and support one another in building sound family values and raising successful children. We also have an expression called Mom's Day Out, where mothers across various professions and businesses take a day off twice a year to relax and have fun. In 2020, we decided to take Supermoms group a notch further by starting a monthly webinar known as the Supermoms Knowledge Series. In the past 8 months, we have reached over 200 moms and dads across different countries. So now I'll be introducing you to today's host. Her name is Ediri Sobande. She's also known as Awalewa. She's a loving wife and super mom. She's a consultant in data analytics with over 16 years work experience in the telecoms, banking, and consulting industries. She's the lead organizer of Precious Pearl, a philanthropic outreach that caters for indigent mothers and children. Her passion for mothering and parenting inspired the idea for founding Supermoms. Please welcome Ediri Sobande.
Thank you so much, Amal, and thank you, Fumi. Thank you for that very warm welcome. Good afternoon, moms, dads, guardians, everyone joining us from all over the world. It's afternoon here in Lagos, Nigeria. Thank you for joining us from wherever you're connecting from. We are so glad that you're here today. Before I go on, I'd just like to acknowledge all the workers in the house. Today is Workers' Day in Nigeria. It's a day set aside to celebrate workers and a day workers take time off to rest and relax from their hard work. So happy Workers' Day to all the parents in the house. It's not easy combining work, business, and parenting. It's the grace of God. It requires a lot of courage, hard work, and a lot of sacrifice. Happy Workers' Day and well done, parents. God bless us all. So today we'll be taking a look at what your children or your child should know about money. Money, money, money. We all know how important money is in our world. And we know that money will affect every area of life. And so this topic is critical and very important to us as parents and to the way we parent our children. Learning money management at an early age is about ensuring that your child is educated on the best way to manage finances. This is a way of securing their future, and this helps them spend wisely at all times. And it also minimizes an entitlement mentality, which we see today that is very common amongst young people. So, some of the key points we'll be talking about today include why it is very important to give early financial education to your child, how to teach your child to spend, to share, to save, and invest. How good money habits will help your child's character development. How to teach budgeting in a way and a language that your child understands. And why it is very important to teach your child the difference between needs and wants. And yes, yes, and yes, we should let them learn how to earn money at a very early age. They should start learning how to work and earn. So to take us into this very, very important session, we have a guest speaker in our midst. His name is Mr. Ayemere Ogudo. He's an engineer, and he has a first degree in mechanical engineering. Ayemere has always been passionate about making impact in the lives of people. So this can be seen by the lifestyle that he has, that is driven by a personal philosophy that says a life without impact is a worthless life. Ayemere is a licensed financial advisor with the province of Ontario, Canada, where he's using his skills to educate families, promoting financial literacy, and ensuring that families are empowered to make the right financial decisions that would ensure that they have a sustainable and peaceful future. He is a qualified professional with vast work experience in oil and gas, audit, and manufacturing industries. Mr. Ayemere Ogudo is married to his lovely wife, and together they have three beautiful children. Ladies and gentlemen, moms and dads, everyone joining us this afternoon, please let us welcome Ayemere Ogudo. Thank you so much, Mr. Ogudo, for joining us this afternoon. We're so glad you're able to make it to the session and to find time from your very tight schedule to be with us today. Thank you. So I'll hand over to Mr. Ogudo to take us through the session. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you very much, Ediri, and to the entire Supermoms team. I'm happy and excited to be part of this session today. I picked interest in the organization from the very first time Ediri posted something about that on our platform. Interestingly, she's my high school classmate, so I've known her pretty much, I would say more than 25 years of my life or more. So for me, I look out for opportunities where you can add value to people's lives, and I believe Supermom is doing that. And whatever way we can support that is something that I would love to keep doing. So thank you for the opportunity to be able to, present today. I don't take it for granted. I strongly believe that there are more people who are more qualified, who have more resources or ideas about what I'm going to share today. But I think it's just a privilege, and I don't take it for granted. One other thing that I want to say today is that the way I like to take my sessions is to kind of make people understand that I'm not a theoretical person. I'm more of a practical person. So in talking about my slides today, I'm going to be sharing some practical experiences. But at the same time, too, the goal would be for us to be able to, go back and implement some or all of the things that are being talked about here. It's not what you hear that matters, it's what you do with what you hear that really matters. So I believe that some of these things here today would be an eye-opener for some of us. It may be something that we're already aware of, and I hope that at the end of the day, it will add the value that is required. So Ediri will be helping me to go through my slides, but I'll just start by introducing myself more. So like she has rightly said, I have a degree in engineering. I graduated from the university about 20 years ago, so I've been working in the industry for about 20 years or more. Um, I started working from Port Harcourt, moved to Lagos, then eventually I came over to Canada about 5, 6 years ago. And in all of this experience, I found out that it's not really your education that makes you financially literate. And it's not also how much you make that really matters. It's the knowledge that you have that distinguishes you from others. So for me, for the first 15 years of my working life, I wouldn't talk about before my working life, I didn't really have any financial knowledge until I came to Canada. So when I came into Canada in 2015, I was privileged to meet somebody. And one of the things I always tell people is this: always keep an open mind. You never know that information that will change your life for the better. So 2015, I met a lady who started talking to me about financial education under the canopy of a company they call World Financial Group. It's based in the US and Canada. And basically what Financial Group does basically is promoting financial education and at the same time to give people opportunity to become business owners. So for me, it was an instant acceptance, because I said to her, I worked for 15 years back in Nigeria. I rose to top management in my organization. At the time I was living in Nigeria, I was already earning over 10 million naira per annum in 2015. But what did I really do with that money? Yes, I lived in a good house, I had a car or whatever, but it didn't go beyond that. And I found out that when you have the right knowledge, whatever that comes your way can be transformed into wealth. It was funny. One day I was driving in the car, one of our company drivers, and he was showing me, was telling me about his house that he was building in Songo, and while he was telling me that, he was telling me he's going to be completing it shortly. As at the time the guy was talking to me, his salary was about maybe 50,000 naira or less a month. And he was talking to somebody who was already earning close to about 700, 800,000 naira a month. And it was funny, he had a land, I had nothing. So there and there, I just told myself, I said, it's funny that sometimes people think that is when you make more money that you can actually achieve a lot of things. With the little money he had, he understood the concept of, okay, you know what, I can't afford to buy a land in Ikeja, but I can buy a land, in a suburb. And that was how he started his own journey of building his own house. So for me, financial literacy it's something that every family must seek for. Every family must take time to inculcate in themselves and their children. Most of the time we all go for, I don't know about, but at least most people probably go for medical checkup once a year. Personally, I think that every family should have at least an annual review of their finances every year. Sit down with your family and say, okay, where are we this year? What do we need to do and all of that. So having said that, I will just be talking about what your child should know about money. And it's interesting because we're talking about children. Of course, children are your heritage. They're the people you want to, build wealth for, pretty much. You want to make them happy, and you also want to probably transfer wealth to them. So if you don't teach them about money, guess what? There's going to be a mismatch at some point. So Ediri, you can move to the next slide. Okay, so what is financial literacy? You need to understand what that means. It refers to the ability to understand and apply different financial skills effectively, including personal financial management, budgeting, and saving. So basically, it's a skill that you need to acquire. If you don't know, you don't know. No disrespect to whatever degree that we may possess, but your degree doesn't really matter if you don't have the right knowledge when it comes to financial literacy. All you just need to do basically is the ability to understand, okay, how money works. How do I generate income? How do I save? How do I sustain that income? How do I transfer that wealth to my entire family? It's an essential skill that is required for our entire life cycle. And I say this because, I'll give an example. Many of us probably want to say, okay, I want to retire at whatever particular age. In Canada here, for example, the prime retirement age is 65. But do you know that retirement is not really an age thing? It's a function of how much you have. So by rule of thumb, if you want to retire, you should have at least 20 times your income at retirement. The idea is that if you retire at let's say 55, you should have income that will last you for another 20 years without you having to go to work for anybody. So if today at age 20 or age 30 or age 40, you have 20 times the income you're making right now, you could pretty much retire because you are okay. You can take care of yourself for the next 20 years. So if, for example, you are making, for example, $50,000 per annum, you should have $1 million aside that can help you for retirement. Many people don't know. They don't even know what they need for retirement. And you know what? Retirement comes and it becomes a burden. It becomes a struggle. And they're like, it's funny because when I look at when I finished university and now, it's over 20 years. It's just like yesterday. I can remember all the events. I can remember what happened. Time doesn't wait for anybody. It just keeps ticking and ticking and ticking. So I don't know what stage you are right now in your life, but you always have to make sure that you are conscious of every life cycle, every stage in your life, and ask yourself, where do I want to be in the next 5, 10, 15, 25 years, as the case may be. So learning about financial literacy is very positive, it's fun, and it's very engaging. So that's the goal for today's slide, kind of engage us, steer us in the right direction and all of that. So why do we need financial literacy for our children? Foundation. The truth about it is that if you don't set the right foundation for your children, what are they going to build on? What are they going to build on? A lot of people don't even expose their children to financial education. I live in Canada, for example. I have seen children. It was funny one day I was talking to a young lad, and I asked him, one of my clients, I said to him, I said, how much do you get every month from your parents? He said, plus or minus, he gets about 2,000 Canadian dollars from his parents and his siblings every month. And I said, okay, how much do you spend every month? When you look at your rent and your basics, he said about $1,000. Okay, so what happens to the $1,000 that you have extra? And he said, you know what? I take Uber, just go around the town sometimes. I buy clothes, I buy food outside and all of that. This is a young lad, we're interested that this young lad bought his sneakers for $800. $800 for his sneakers, and the reason why he did that was because he doesn't have any foundation when it comes to financial planning, and I said to him, I said, what if your dad today, for example, loses his job? What if your dad doesn't have money to take you through school? How are you going to survive? And I said, do you know that if you were saving $500 or even $800 from that money your parents are sending to you every year, every month, in the next 12 months, you have $6,000. In the next 4 years, because you're doing a 4-year program, you have about $24,000. Do you know what that would do for you when you're done with school? Do you know that could be at least an entry into you buying a property here in Canada? Do you know how your parents would feel like when they know that, okay, you want to buy something, maybe a property, and you say, Daddy, I want to buy a house. Your parents will be like, oh, are you sure this boy is okay? And you say to them, oh, Dad, I already have the down payment. I only need you to put some money in my pocket, to add to it. So if you don't set the right foundation for your children financially, then trust me, it's not going to happen. You're not going to learn from anywhere. So it's important that we educate our children. We teach them all this simple financial literacy step from the day one. Again, number one, the second thing is responsibility and accountability. I'll tell you a very pathetic story. There was a young chap who used to attend who used to live here in St. Catharines, where I live in Canada. And at some point in his life, he wanted to buy a car. And some of the people who the parents kind of handed over the child to here in Canada said to the parents, your child doesn't need a car right now. You understand? What he needs basically is it takes the bus to school and all of that. But somehow I was able to muscle his parents, and before you know what's happening, the parents bought him a car. On a fateful day, he was driving from the city where I live to another city that was like an hour, 30 minutes away, and he got involved in a ghastly motor accident, and everybody in that car died. The sad part, it was the only child of his parents. So guess what? You use your own hands, to cause trouble for yourself. So when you teach your children financial literacy, basically you are helping them to be responsible. Just like I talked about the young child today earlier who spend $800 on a pair of sneakers. Some of the parents who are bringing out this money, you know a lot of parents who their children are here, probably they take a loan from the banks or whatever to fund their children's education. How would you feel like to know that your son or your daughter bought a shoe for $800 when you can't even buy a shoe for $20 or $50? So it makes them to be responsible and accountable for every penny that they make. They're accountable for it. They know that every penny has a value. Again, it also helps them to build their character. You know, I'll tell you something now, and this may be a wrong assumption, but I found out that most people who are very careful about how they spend their money, they're very humble. You know, they are very humble. Look at the Jeff Bezos of this world. Look at and people like the guy who owns Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg. These guys are multi-billionaires as it is. But do you see them exhibit wealth or trying to want to trample you down with their money? No. You know, so if you look at it very well, if you understand the value of money, it helps you to understand that people need to be respected. It makes you to understand that the money you are making is basically for you to also be a blessing to others. So if you want to build character in your children, you know, you want to be able to teach them that money is not meant to be used to oppress others. It's meant to be used to what? To be a blessing. Peace. You also want to have peace of mind. You know, you see, you know, I talked about the young chap, for example, who got involved in a ghastly accident. What about the children that, because they have money, you know, and they don't have an idea how money is to be spent, they get into all kinds of troubles. They buy all kinds of things that could put them into trouble. They go to places where they're not supposed to go to. They do things that they're not supposed to do. You know, so if you want to have peace of mind, you know, today, tomorrow, then you should start teaching your children financial concept from the day one. Safety, I already touched about that a while ago. You know, if that child, for example, did not have access to the kind of money he had access to, he probably would not have bought that car. And sorry about that. Let me just. And his family would have seen him to date, you know, but because of unfortunately, because he did not have that concept, guess what? He got himself into that kind of trouble. So again, the other thing again is legacy and wealth preservation. So if you want to build a legacy for your children, you know, many of us are working very hard to build financial resources for our children, but guess what? Who are you going to leave that money for? It's not the children that you have not, if you have not educated them, how are you going to manage it? You know, I remember one time I was in Port Harcourt and there was a guy who had made so much money and he passed on. And all of a sudden, they shared the properties for all the children. According to the story that I heard, one of the kids was involved in drugs and all of that. He just came into Port Harcourt, sold the properties, and that was it, moved on. You know, having struggled, bought a lot of properties, built a lot of houses, set up a lot of businesses. You know, you didn't teach your child the concept of how to build wealth, how to manage wealth. And guess what? All that you struggled for all your life was thrown away in a twinkle of an eye. So if you want to sustain your financial legacy, if you want to sustain the wealth that you have built, if you want to preserve it, you want to make sure that you start educating your children about things like that. Because by the time you transfer those assets to them, they know what to do with it. They know how to manage those assets. But if you don't teach them all of that right now, when those assets are transferred to them, because you know, a child who doesn't know how to manage $1,000, all of a sudden he's given $5 million as an inheritance. What do you think he would do? He would just go on a spending spree. If you stay in an hotel for 1 year, in a 5-star hotel for 1 year, you go on a boat cruise and the rest, that money will finish in less than a year, easily. They get into drugs, they get into all kinds of virtues, all kinds of things. You know, by virtue of my engagement in my church and people that I interact with, I've seen children, for example, whose parents are, you know, responsible people in the society, in quote, but unfortunately they came into Canada and they got into drugs. You know, because maybe some of these concepts were not entrenched into them from the day one. You know, because by the time you are teaching children financial literacy, it's a complete package. They see the value of money. They see why they need to make money. They see why they need to preserve money. They see why they need to keep their money properly and all of that. So you can move to the next slide. Thank you. So just this is for us in Canada, but you know, it's applicable to any part of the world. It doesn't matter whether I live in Canada or anywhere you live in the world. Financial literacy is financial literacy. It's a global concept. It's not only for people who live in Canada. 78% of Canadians claim to be financially literate, but 60% failed a financial literacy test when it was administered. With a shortfall of $20 in monthly income, over 40% of Canadians are not likely able to meet their bills or debt obligations. A lot of people live paycheck to paycheck. You know, once they don't pay them wages for that month, they're in trouble. Only 25% of Canadians have an emergency fund. Emergency fund basically means, okay, what I should have at least 3 to 6 months of my living expenses put aside, just in case something happens today. How many people have that? If, for example, you don't have a job for the next 3 to 6 months, can you pay your rent? Can you afford to put food on the table for your family? Less than 30% of Canadians have insurance coverage for serious life events. 46% of Canadians don't have a financial plan for their future, despite many feeling concerned about their retirement years. So you can see the statistics are there. So I don't know about you. I don't want to be in the negative statistics. I want to be in the positive statistics. I want to be among those who are financially literate. I want to be among those who have been able to put the right things in place for my family. So I'm going to be showing us a few concepts today. And one of them is the word formula. If you want to be wealthy, you must know these 5 things. Money doesn't grow on trees. You must work for it. If you want to build wealth, there's a formula for you to build on. Number 1, you must make money. So your children have to understand that they have to make money. I've seen children here, for example, who they don't work. They don't have to work. You know why? Because their parents are super rich. And jokingly, I always said them, I said, I know your parents can afford to pay all your bills and all of that, but it's important that you work. Because when you work, guess what? You begin to build character. Number 2, you can generate income that you can put aside and start building your own wealth portfolio. A lot of parents make that mistake. They will say, okay, you know what? You don't need to work. You can stay. You can, I'm going to pay your bills and all of that. But I found that in talking to a lot of students, the students who don't work while going to school, they are not better than the students who are working while going to school. I found out from talking to somebody, he said, because I work and I go to school, when I come back from work, I want to read hard because, number 1, I don't want to fail because I know I'm going to be able to, I have to pay my school fees myself or pay part of it myself. So I'm making sure that I put in all the effort, to make sure that I don't have to write the exams again. Number 2, because they also know that their friends who are not going to work have been reading all day, they want to catch up. And trust me, some of these students who probably are not working and are going to school, many of them are not even doing well academically. I've seen students who were doing poorly in school until when their parents came on holidays to see them and found out that they were almost being withdrawn from school. I have seen a student, for example, who for 4 years was deceiving her parents that she was in school. She was sending them results, doctored results, and they didn't know. Only for them to come over for graduation and found out she never went to school. And this is somebody whose parents were paying the bills 100%. So we have to start teaching our children that they have to, make money. You understand? It's not like they have to be crazy about making money at their stage, but they have to understand that it's good to work. So if you want to be wealthy, you have to make money. Whether you work full-time, part-time, whether you have a business on the side. For example, I have a full-time job as a quality manager, but at the same time too, I sat down and I said, okay, you know what? What if something happens to my full-time job today? What if, and I want to build a lot of things for my family. Can this one job cut the plan I have? So I encourage people to always, look out for other opportunities to generate income if you want to be wealthy. It will take time. Becoming wealthy takes time. It's not a one-day thing. You need to be able to sit down today and say, okay, where do I want to be in 15, 10, 25, 25 years from today? Once you know that, it kind of gives you a blueprint on the things you now need to start putting in place from today. Okay, if I want to have $1 million in my account at age 65, what do I have currently today? Okay, I have 20 years to do that. Okay, I need to put aside maybe $50,000 every year. So that keeps you thinking, okay, what are the things that I can do to generate that income? There's no place called success. It's interesting. A lot of times, I know some of us who live in some part of the world will think, okay, the country is not good and all of that. But it's funny because I live here in Canada, but I still buy products from Nigeria. I have people who I buy things from that are based in Nigeria. And most of their clientele are based here in Canada. They are making Canadian dollars, even though they live in Nigeria. So you have to always think about, time when it comes to building wealth. The other thing again is rate of return. This one is very, very important. This is one thing that the wealthy people understand. Many of us are working. Like I said, when I was living in Nigeria, I was making 10 million naira per annum. But guess what? I didn't understand this rate of return. Money cannot afford to stay idle. Ask yourself right now, where is your money sitting down right now? What is the interest rate on that money right now? Don't disrespect to those who work in the bank, but I don't know about Nigeria right now, but I know in Canada, for example, if you put your money in a savings account, you cannot even get up to 0.5%. You can't get up to 0.5%. So if you put your money in a savings account, say for example, I come to you and say, where's your money today? And you say, okay, I have $10 million in my savings account. You're not building wealth because that money is not going to grow. And the reason why is because there's what they call the rule of 72. I'll show you that in the next slide, but let me just explain it briefly. It talks about how long it will take your money to double. So if you divide, it's a global, it's a universal law. You can Google it, you will see. Rule of 72. So for example, if you divide 72 by, let's say 1% in a savings account, what it means that it's going to take you 72 years for your money to double. So if you have $1,000 in your savings account today, for example, it's going to take 72 years for that $1,000 to become $2,000. I don't know how old you are right now, but guess what? Do you have 72 years to wait for your money to grow? So we need to teach our children that rate of return, that you always want to be conscious of where your money is sitting down right now. And there's going to be a couple of slides that will explain that to us to tell you the power of compound interest. The fourth thing you must consider when you're building wealth is inflation. Inflation is the cost, the rising cost of goods and services. There is nothing any of us can do about it. Goods and services will continue to go up. There's no magic. There's nothing to worry. Don't even crack your brain about it. It's going to continue to go up. For example, the housing market in Canada, for example, this last couple of months has been boiling. When you say boiling, houses that were $300,000 like last 6-8 months are going for $600,000 as of today. So if, for example, you have been saving your money in a savings account, trying to accumulate your down payment, guess what? Your money will be worthless right now because you can't afford the same house. So inflation in Canada, for example, is minimum 3%. I don't know the inflation rate in Nigeria, but you can check it out. So if you know the inflation rate in your country where you live in, what it means is that you must do everything possible to look for portfolios where your money is at least above that inflation rate. So if, for example, I put my money in a savings account, let's say in Canada, for example, right now, and at 1%, I'm already at -2. So tell me what, I'm not building wealth for myself. I'm making money, but the money is not growing. So you have to, and that is one of the things that the wealthy people understand in the world today. They understand rate of return. I'm sure you know that only 5%. It's common. It's out there in the public parlance that 95% of the world is being managed by 5% of the world. What it means is that 5% of the people in this world are the ones that are actually controlling 95% of the wealth of this world. And think about it: the Jeff Bezos, the Elon Musk, and the rest of them. How many percent of those people are in this world? Only 5%. But they're controlling 95% because they understand some of these concepts. The other thing again you have to consider is taxes. Taxes is everywhere. It all depends on how tax administration is managed in any country you live in. But if you don't understand the way taxes work in your country, then you're gonna have issues. You can build all the money in the world, but taxes will take it. I'll give an example. There's, like in Canada, for example, there's what they call your tax now, tax advantage, and tax later. So tax now means that if you put your money, for example, in a savings account, or a checking account, and you make profit, you pay taxes on it right away. Tax later basically means like we call it our registered retirement savings plan. We all have all these things in our various countries, sincerely, I'll tell you. It's just that if you don't pay attention, you won't know. So what that one does for you is that there's a particular amount that the government allows you to put aside every year. If you put that money into a portfolio, you don't pay taxes for that amount. It grows in that portfolio without you paying taxes on it. So you have to always look for every avenue to transfer some of your money into portfolios where you are not paying taxes or where you are paying taxes at a later date. Then, of course, if you want to look at your tax advantage, like in Canada, we have what we call your tax-free savings account. It's an account where if you make profit on it, if you put $5,000 into that account, for example, and it turns to $100,000, you don't pay taxes on it. Because if you don't understand the tax system, all the money you've made, the government will take it. So understanding the tax system is very important. And once you are able to identify these 5 things, then you are your pathway to becoming wealthy. You know, it's funny that a lot of people were going after Donald Trump when he said he paid a particular, almost a meager amount of money in taxes. It's not his fault. He understands the tax system and he took advantage of the tax system. So understand the tax system in your country and take advantage of it positively. So let's go to the next slide, please. So let's look at this. When do I start teaching my children money? When I show you this, you understand why you need to start teaching your children how to build money from the day one. You know, the power of time. Time can be your greatest ally or your worst enemy. The time to teach your children how to build wealth is today. To teach them understanding money is today. Let's look at an example. And I bet you that many parents here, you know, I'm using dollars in this case, but I believe that, you know, in whatever country you find yourself, there's an amount that is equivalent to $100. I'm using $100, you know, and $12 per year. If I have a child today and he's age 0, and I say to my wife, and I say, okay, you know what? Every month we're going to be putting $100 aside for this child in a portfolio that is giving us 7% every year. If you start out at age 0 for that child and you do that for 65 years, you're only going to be contributing, total amount you're going to contribute is $78,000 for that child. But guess what? Because it's at 7% per annum, look at how much the child would have accumulated at age 65. $1.427 thousand. This is not, you can Google, I can send you tools for you to do the calculation. Go online, look for financial calculators, punch in the numbers, just put the interest and all of that. That is what they call the magic of compound interest. That child stayed invested from age 0 to age 65, and the money kept growing, and it became about $1.5 million. How would your child feel like, or how would you feel like when your child at 65 has this kind of money in his account by you just teaching the child to put $100 every month aside? Of course, at the particular stage in that child's life, he or she will take over from where you started. You know, so you started at age 0, maybe for example, at age 25, whatever age you want to cap it, you stop it and you say, okay, you know what, my son, my daughter, I did this for you for the last 25 years. Look at how much you have in your account right now. I would encourage you to continue with this. Any reasonable child who you have taught well will continue with this. And by just putting $100 aside every month at age 65, he has $1.5 million thereabout. But look at the second person. Oh no, I don't want to start saving right now, wait later, that. He or she started at 25 years old. Guess what? How much did they contribute? $48,000 up to age 65 too. How much did the person have at 65 years? $248,000. It's a lot of money too, no doubt. At least your money has grown. But look at what delaying has cost you. By delaying, it has cost you over almost about $1.2 million. That is why I said that wealth is built over time. It's not a get rich quick syndrome. You must be ready to take the time. You know, and you know, it's funny because some of this money we're talking about are the money that some of us spend so easily. You know, it's funny, I tell my kids, I said, I take you to the toy store. You buy a toy, and I believe many parents here fall into that same category. You buy a child a toy for $50, $40, whatever. And after like a month or less than a month, that toy is in the garbage bin. I'm sure that many parents here today, for example, who every month, probably you are an equivalent of about $40, $50 or more is used for things that you see in the garbage bin afterwards. Guess what? You're not. You could have put that money into a portfolio like this, and you are building money for that child. In Nigeria too, there are a lot of investment organizations that you can go sit down with and say, hey, I want to draw up a plan for my child. ARM is there. I use ARM investment, even though I still have that there. I use investment one for GTB. Go sit down with them and ask them. I said, okay, I want to build a million naira for my child when he or she is age 20. How much do I need to put every month? And just start doing it. It could be 5,000 naira every month. It could be 2,000 naira every month. Just put the numbers there and you see what it will give you. So the question is this: now that you know this, what are you going to do about it? So Ediri, you want to move to the next slide. So how does that make you feel? Seeing that, I think you need to, is that supposed to be a picture there, I guess? Okay. All right, so basically what I just showed you just now, it's not, it's just to kind of tell you that we have if you don't have the picture, don't worry, move to the next slide, I can talk through it. Now that I've explained, okay, yeah, It should have just now. Okay, that's fine. So how does that make you feel? You are thinking, or the next one, just flip it, or you're sad that, oh my God, I could have been able to put a lot of money. Don't worry about it. You just move to the next slide. Like I said, my goal today is to get you to a point where you can go back and reflect and take actions. So now on your marks, goal setting. What goals do you have for your children? You know, I saw that one of my clients the other day said, I want my children to go to an Ivy League college. An Ivy League college, you pay hundreds of thousands of dollars every year for them to go to school. What dreams do you have for your children? Have you sold that dream to them? You know, oh, I want you to go to maybe whatever university. I want you to have a house where you are 20. I want you to have this or that. You have to be able to sit down with your kids and, you know, share those goals with them. You guys will sit down and work out the goals. Of course, when you not define your goals, then they could be short-term, medium-term, or long-term. When you know your goals, it tells you what you need to start putting in place. You know, what I showed you a while ago could be a retirement goal for your child. You know, putting $100 aside. It doesn't stop you from doing other things. That, okay, at age 65, you know, Tokwe or Ayemere, I want you to have this amount of money in your account. If you do this, $100 every month, which I'm starting for you now at this age you are right now, you're going to have this, you know. So you can break your goals into short-term, medium-term, or long-term. So now, what vehicle do you want to use to achieve these goals? You know, so that would determine your risk appetite. If you want to have $1 million in your account, saving every month, if you're making, for example, $50,000 per annum, and for example, your expenses are already weighing into that money, you're not going to be able to achieve that if you just put it into a savings account. Like I said a while ago, it's not going to give you any fantastic return on investment. So once you know your goals, it will not help you to now, you know, determine your risk appetite. You know, the more risk you're willing to take, the more money you are going to make. I'll give you an example. Just imagine parents who bought Nestle shares, like maybe, for example, 40 years ago. Nestle shares, I think they are going for about 1,000 naira and some change or more as of today. But I'm sure some of them bought it for less than maybe 20 naira or whatever many years ago. So if you want to, you know, build wealth for your child, you need to determine what kind of risk appetite you have. For example, there are parents, for example, now who have bought houses for their children. You know, it may not be in the child's name 100%, but they know it's for the child. You know, and I was talking to a colleague of mine yesterday at work. He bought his house in Canada for $170,000 in 2016. As of today, that house is already evaluated for $520,000. As of today, $520,000. So just imagine if some of us here had done the same thing for our child. Wherever you live in the world, you have the resources, for example, you know, and there are so many ways to even buy houses these days. You can do monthly payment. Just imagine if you buy a house for your child and you say, okay, this is going to be my child's retirement, or it's going to be this or that for that child. You don't know how much that house is going to be worth. It's just like my driver there back in Nigeria who was building his house in Songo. I can bet you right now that house now will be worth maybe 3-4 times or 5 times the amount he invested in it. So there's always a vehicle for you to, you know, to build wealth for your children. So you need to start highlighting those vehicles to them. That is where you start teaching them risk, start teaching them interest rates, start teaching them investment portfolios and all of that. They need to understand that. And trust me, every child, from my experience, they are very smart. You know, let me tell you one personal story. My daughter, for example, she likes to buy things, you know. So at the beginning of the year, she opened her safe and maybe she had about, let's say, $100 in it. So went to the store and I said, hey, let's use your money to buy. She said, no. You can't use my money. Let's use your own money. So they understand that. They understand that concept. You understand? So the other time I went to the store to buy things and she was just picking and picking and picking. I paid. But after the whole thing, I said, have you ever wondered how much I have in my pocket before you start picking things? And I said to her, before you go into a store, you need to know how much you have. Then you also need to know how much you're going to spend. You also need to know whether your parents can afford it. You know, so these are moments you start teaching your children all of these things. Do you have the required knowledge? If you don't have financial literacy knowledge, please go for it. Go for it. Read books. You know, I'm going to share a book with us today, hopefully at the end of this session, through Ediri. It's a simple book. It's applicable to us here in North America, but anybody can read that book and understand it. And it will also teach you, most of these things that I'm teaching today are things that I picked up from that book. It will teach you all this concept little by little. What environment are you located in? You know, this environment that you are right now, trust me, is the right environment you should be in. An environment that is always wanting to teach you something. You cannot give what you don't have. You cannot be in an environment that is into spending and think that you'll be saving. It's not possible. If you want to be wealthy, you have to be in the environment of those who are wealthy and begin to find out what are they doing that I need to start doing too that will help me to build that wealth. You understand? So culture. So get set. Culture. Culture is the way of life of a person or a group of people. You must set the right financial culture for your children. Number one, be a good example. You know, the first person, the first teacher for every child is you. You know, many times people will say, okay, I want to put my child in the best school in Nigeria, the best school in Canada, the best school in US, or whatever. Nobody's going to teach your child anything better than yourself. It starts from you. The schools are only going to help to build on that. And unfortunately, the schools are not even teaching them financial literacy. They're not. They're not. They're not spending time to teach them that. They don't learn it from the schools. Because if the schools were teaching us, some of us would have known all these things. All this why we did not. The schools are focused on other things. So you must set a good example for your children. Can your children see you and say, my parents are prudent, my parents are investing, my parents are building wealth? You know, it's funny. My daughter one day asked me a question. She said, Daddy, I know you're a financial advisor and you're helping a lot of families. She said to me, have you helped our own family? And I was so happy to say to her, yes, I am. I said, I have put educational plans for you, insurance for myself, savings account for us. We're buying properties. We're doing all kinds of things. You know, they should see that in you. They should know that you are also, you know, you can't be teaching them what you are not doing. Teach them the culture of savings and investment. That they should understand that, you know, you can only save. You know, it's been proven that you can only save before you spend, not after you have spent. That is why I always tell most of my clients that one of the easy ways you can save money is for you to have a vehicle that restricts you from spending money. I'll give an example. I had a client who had 3 children, a single mother, she has 3 children. And I said to her one day, I said, you can save money. She said, no, I can't save money. That there's always something to buy. I said, really? I said, okay, how do you spend your money? She goes into the store. You know, in the stores, they put a lot of sales and you just start picking. Even the things you want and the things you don't want, you pick all of them. At the end of the day, you go and pay and you leave that place. Okay, sorry, you want to mute your Ediri? Okay, so basically, what did I do for that client? I set up what they call a TFSA for. If you live here in North America or Canada, you understand that. It's a savings account that you don't have a debit card. You don't have a card that you can withdraw money from. For you to withdraw money from that account, you have to go through a process. It's your money. And in 3 months, the same person who could not save money was able to save $4,500. And I said to her, what changed? I said, nothing changed. The only thing that changed was that you now have an account that restricts you from spending money. So we all need to have an account that restricts us from spending money. An account that when you put money into it, when you put money into it, it will only take something very, very, very important or cogent for you to pull out that money. But if you don't have that kind of account, trust me, you will always be delaying that. Okay, I'll put tomorrow, I'll put next tomorrow, I'll put and all of that. That's the same thing that happened to me when I was in Nigeria. When I started working my first job in 2002, I was approached by ARM Investment. They said, you can put 5,000 every month. You know, I said, don't worry. I'll just gather the money at the end of the year and just put it at once. I never did it until almost about 12 years after working that I started doing it. And that was the money that helped us when we were relocating to Canada. You know, by putting 25, 50,000 aside every month, we're able to, you know, amass a lot of money that we always used to travel, buy tickets and all of that. So you must have an account that restricts you. You must also teach your children that too, that they must have a portfolio where they can have access to that money. Teach them the giving culture. Always teach your children how to give. Because, you know, one of the things I found out is this. It works for me. The more I think about giving, the more I'm thinking about making more money. Because there's more people to help out. There's more people to touch their lives. And you know, one thing I've also found out, when you give, you are blessed. Because those who you give to, of course, will offer a prayer to you. And, you know, it's not by your power that you actually succeed in, it's the grace of God. So you need to start teaching your children how to give. You know, so in doing that, you're also teaching them to understand that there are people who don't have. So they will appreciate the fact that they have and make sure that they stay, you know, financially stable. Teach them that, you know, savings and building wealth it takes a lot of sacrifice and discipline. You know, they have to be disciplined. You have to sacrifice a lot. You know, delay is not denial, that they don't want, you know, for example, some children want to get a tablet or a phone when they are 2-year-old. Is it a right thing to do? Some parents have already done that for their children. Is it a good thing to do? Well, to some parents, it may be. But the question is this: I would ask myself, what's the child going to do with that at age 2? Does he or she even know what that is going to add to him or her? So it could be a distraction to that child. So sometimes you have to delay some things for your children. It took my daughter is 12 years old, almost 12 years old. We talked about getting a phone for her for almost 4 or 5 years until we finally did, which is just about a couple of months ago. You understand? You know, so you have to be able to, you know, walk them through the process. And of course, they'll push back and tell you that their friends have it. But always tell them that, you know what, everybody's unique. We're all different. We're not the same. That they have it does not mean that you should have it. You know, and this is the reason why you don't have it, so that you can be able to do this and do that and all of that. So you want to go to the next slide. So budgeting. A budget is a plan that helps you to manage. Now that you've gotten set now, how do you go? Where do you go from? A budget helps you to plan your money. Basically, it's just about your management of your income and management of your expenses. If you don't have a budget, you won't even know what is coming in, and you won't even know what is going out. So you want to teach your children that a budget helps you to know what is coming in and what is going out. It helps you to, you know, like, for example, you go grocery shopping, you should be able to know, okay, what am I going to buy at the grocery store today? You know, how much do I have? You know, and all of that. Keep it simple for them. Keep it as simple as possible. Like I said, income, expenses. So it requires a lot of, what are the benefits for you? Income versus expenses. They know their income and they know their expenses. In doing this simple analysis with them, they can now find out that some expenses that they are going into is not necessary. It's just a waste of their resources. I'll give you a good example. I used to have an internet service provider that was charging me like $120 every month. Until one day I went to see a client and he or she was telling me about the one he was using. And I said, I don't need all the features that this provider is giving to me right now. So I called that same company, and I was able to reduce my internet provider by 50%. Many of us are just stuck with things that we feel is the best thing. It's not. Go out and find out. There may be other opportunities out there. You know, because you're not looking at your income and your expenses, you don't even know where you need to cut back on. It helps you to track and monitor your inflow and your outflow. It helps you to look at cost reduction, you know, opportunities, just like I talked about my own internet, for example. If you're trying to build, let's say, $1 million into your account in the next 5 years, and there's no how will I put it? There's no extra money for you every month. What are you going to do? You start thinking, okay, what can I cut out? For example, where am I going to buy my food? Am I buying my food from VI, or can I go to my 12, or can I go to Oshodi and buy, for example? Because, you know, I lived in Lagos for a while before I came here. Every market is different prices. You understand? Can I buy wholesale instead of buying, you know, retail? By doing that, those little savings, they add up and they become valuable to you. It helps you to achieve your goals easily. It reduces your stress. Many times, a lot of people are under so much stress, so much pressure. Why? Because of this issue of they don't understand their income and they don't understand their expenses. So there's a lot of stress on you. And one of the stresses that people go through that causes a lot of pain for them is financial stress. I'm telling you, financial stress is one big stress, one big issue that people are dealing with. So do you want your children to start going through all those stress? Your children should be living a roller coaster life. Let me use the word, when they grow up, enjoying their life, just always smiling. And people will be looking at them and say, why are you smiling? You know what? I'm good. I'm telling you, if you are able to apply some of these concepts for your child, for example, your child is age 0, you'll be amazed how much your child will have at age 25. You'll be amazed. It will amaze you. And that child will be way, way above, beyond his or her peers. Just imagine your child at age 18 or age 25, for example, has 5 million naira in his account. When I became 25, I didn't have that kind of money in my account. But could my dad have done that? Yes, he could have, at some point in his life. So just imagine you handing that to your children with their support and their help. How would they feel like? It gives you control. When you have a budget, it helps you to control your cash flow, helps you to control your expenses. Then it also helps you to prioritize your finances and make sure that you always have funds available. There's nothing as good as you always have funds available. I don't know about you, but how many people do you call and you say, hey, I'm just a little bit broke right now. Can you borrow me 5,000 naira or $5,000? After you have told them your entire story, then the next thing they will tell you is that, oh, I'm sorry, I don't have right now. If only you had called me last week or called me yesterday and all of that. The best kind of life you can live is where you don't have to depend on another person to feed your family or take care of yourself. And that's one of the things you want to start teaching your children from today. So what are the guidelines that you can put in place for you to set up a budget? Think about your goals. Your goals will help you to tabulate your income and expenses. Use a simple tool. You can use an Excel spreadsheet. Use an Excel. So for those of us who are good at Excel spreadsheet, you can set it on auto. There's so many ways you can use the Excel spreadsheet to do that. Every month, just key it in. Let your children see you do that every month. Oh, Daddy, what are you doing? Mom, what are you doing? I'm putting all the income we made. I'm also putting the expenses that we made so that we can see. They participate in it. And before you know what's happening, they also they can share ideas with you. They'll start telling you that, Daddy, I don't think we should buy this thing for me right now. I don't really need it right now. Put more money into my savings account or into my investment account. If you don't have a budget, how do you measure and how do you improve? As a quality professional, for example, you cannot improve what you are not measuring. So a budget helps you to what? To measure your financial life right now, and it gives you an opportunity to improve it. So give your children a budget assignment, after you have shown them all these guidelines and all of that, give them an assignment and let them plan and budget for a party. Maybe their birthday party, plan it, a trip to the movie. Okay, I want you to plan for your birthday. Okay, and all of that. So now, needs versus wants. A need is something that is necessary, required, or essential, e.g., roof over your head, which is your house, clothing, food, or medication. But, even the clothing too, I would say that it's something that we need to be careful about. I always tell people one thing. The cost of a dress does not determine the beauty of that dress. I've seen people who have worn clothes they tell you that they bought it for $800, $1,000, but they still don't look too good in it. And the question is this. Let's ask ourselves one simple question. When you wear a dress, do people now come and start asking you how much you buy this dress and all of that? Is the price tag written on the dress? It only takes somebody that knows to know that it is expensive. Many times people don't even know they're expensive. So the truth about it is, why do you want to spend all your money buying clothes that are beyond your pay level right now? You're buying clothes, you are buying a dress, for example, that is like I talked about that young guy who bought a sneakers for $800. You bought a sneakers for $800, but you don't have $50 in your savings account. How do you explain that? Is it a bad thing to buy an $800 shoe? No. But if you are in your millions of dollars, you can do that. But not when you are still trying to survive. A want is something that you would like, but don't necessarily need it. It's a good to have, but it's not something that you need to have. For example, eating at the restaurant. There are people who eat at the restaurant every day. Every day. They don't cook. Every day. Is it a bad thing to eat at the restaurant? No. But if you continue to eat at the restaurant every day, guess what? You are not going to be able to put money aside. Some people, I'm not against you going for trips, but you don't have to go too far for you to go for a trip that will be valuable to your family. Some people will say, oh, it's good to enjoy your life. Yes, you can enjoy your life, but you should not enjoy your life at the expense of you building wealth for yourself and your family. So value added, I always try to put expenses under value added and non-value added expenses. Value added means what's the value of this to me? And non-value means, okay, it's good, but doesn't add any value to me. It doesn't change me as a person. So teach your children that there are some things that are value added and some things that are not value added. So what is it? There's a financial life cycle for every child. Early childhood, they are just in their 0 to maybe 3-year-old, 4-year-old, depending on the time they start school in the country where you live in. They can begin learning about money in their preschool years. Introduce them to simple concept as money is used to buy things and people work to earn money. Show them, simple concept about how to understand money. Don't make it difficult for them. Bring out the dollar notes or the naira notes or the pounds note or whatever, and just show them what this means and all of that. There's a game they call Monopoly. It's a good game to teach children how to understand money and how to use money. School age, they are now in school. They can understand some little complicated concept. But it's interesting that these days, children are so smart, very smart. Don't think your children don't know. They know. They are extremely smart. Let them know that they have a limited amount of money to spend. Let them understand when it comes to choices when it comes to using money. Let them understand that they can save money to buy something that they want, such as a toy or a game. Start teaching them that culture. Where, okay, I want a tablet, or daddy, I want, okay, we'll start saving for it every month from the allowances or from the money you are making to buy it. There's a value you are teaching them by doing that. Teach them how to divide their money into saving, spending, and sharing. So they'll be able to know, when I make money, I will put some aside, I will spend some, and I will also give out some. Now you move to the next slide. Preteens, that is between age 9 and 13. They can understand, recognize difference between needs and wants, understand the importance of saving of some of their money. They can learn the value of an emergency fund that I talked about a while ago. Emergency fund basically means 3 to 6 months of your living expenses. Help them to have a savings plan for short and long-term goals. They can create a simple budget for an activity or an event. Understand that families have regular financial commitments to meet. So your children need to understand. Sometimes children don't know that we have commitments to meet as parents. They just think that the money is coming from somewhere. They don't know. You need to be able to make them understand that we have commitments to meet every month. If you don't meet those commitments, I cannot be buying you all those things you want, because I have to pay rent. I have to pay my mortgage. I have to do this. So they need to understand that. If they don't participate in your family expenses, then there's a problem. Understand how advertising can influence their buying decisions. I know that's a big problem right now. There's so much advert everywhere, drawing you to spend money. So they need to understand that they cannot be spending on impulse. So our teenagers, they need to understand the pros and the cons of various payment options like cash, debit card, credit cards, and all of that. Credit card, going into debt can ruin their financial plans. Credit history can be a problem for them when they want to buy houses or do a lot of things in the future. They should be able to understand the different kind of investments. You have like GICs here in Canada, stocks, bonds, mutual fund investment, life insurance, and all of that. They should be able to live within their means. You understand? How inflation, we talked about that, the word formula earlier, how much of their money goes into taxes, So basically, at this stage, you can start teaching them some of those, I would say a little bit more complicated financial, because they are moving into that age where they'll start working probably and start maybe get married and start living their own lives. Next slide, please. So cash flow. Okay, now how do you generate? How do they need to understand that they need to make money? Okay, how do they generate that money? Allowances. Try to teach them by giving your children allowances. Number one, you are teaching them how money comes in, how to save money. If they don't have money, how can they learn budgeting? How can they learn saving? How can they learn sharing? So put your children on an allowance, even if it is 5 naira, for example, every month, 10 naira every month, and you start building up that. It's okay, I'm going to increase it to maybe 12 naira at some point, 15. That way they're understanding that, okay, yeah, you can grow. From that money, you are able to put some aside for them for savings, for investment, and all of that. Babysitting, I don't know, yeah, babysitting is a big deal. Kids can get into babysitting at a particular age once they pass some certification exams and all of that, and they can start making money. Gardening, your kids can help out in gardening activities and they get paid. Dog walking, pets is a big deal here in this part of the world. A lot of people are looking for people to help them walk their dogs. They're not around. They need somebody that will take care of their dogs. Your kids can get involved in that. Shoveling, when there's snow here, and there's a lot of small things that your kids can also learn in any part of the world you are. Having a garage sale. Garage sale basically means all those, let me not use the word junk, all those toys, all those things that they bought that they never use. Bring it out, do a garage sale, get people to come and buy it at little or nothing. But by doing that, guess what? You are generating income. Because there are a lot of things that you bought for your children that today they never use it and they never wore it. This is an opportunity for you to sell those things and make income. Handiwork and essential skill. Teach your children handiwork. For example, they can get involved in baking at an early age, catering and all of that. By doing that, making hair. By doing that, they can start generating income. If a child is 12 years old and can make hair, I trust the ladies, the women here, they don't care. As long as you can do it and they'll pay. And I know that there's a lot, you pay a lot of money to make your hair. So just if your child knows how to make hair at age 12, 13, 14, 15, he or she's already generating income. Co-op, summer jobs, family business. You have a family business, get your children involved. Carve out something that you can get them involved. They can be the ones managing the admin part of your business. Maybe, okay, photocopies, filing, whatever, you pay them an income for that. So I'm just going to show this last slide before I wrap it up today. When it comes to building your financial house, this concept is very key and it's very important. It starts with proper protection. And what is protection? Protection basically means you must have an income replacement strategy. And what does that mean? It means that if you are healthy, the only reason why you are making money today is because you are healthy, it's because you are able, and it's because you are alive. If any of those three things is affected today, what's going to happen to you or your family? Will they be able to sustain the dreams and the goals you had for them? You know, it's something that for me, and that basically is insurance. Insurance is heavy, is huge in this part of the world. I'm telling you, and it's also something that we should start considering even in Nigeria, for example. And there are a lot of insurance companies that can help you out. Do your own research, find out from them, because you know it's so sad sometimes when you hear somebody is going through a medical condition and he or she cannot go to work, and the children are now struggling to go to school. But if you have set up a simple critical illness plan that, God forbid, if I am diagnosed of this, it will pay me out this, those children will go to school. We've seen people whose parents passed on, and guess what? All their financial dreams ended. All their plans for their children ended. Don't be a statistics. There's nothing wrong in planning for the future. If you don't have any protection plan today, I would strongly recommend and advise that please go sit down with the financial advisor and say, hey, what can I do in this regard? Because if income is not coming in, it cannot sustain. The other thing again is the debt management. Ediri, can you go back to that slide, the powerful slide? I'll just wrap it up in 2 minutes. Go back to the last slide. Yeah. You know, the thing is this, when you are building your house, the most important part of the house is the foundation, and that is the protection plan. That if anything happens to me today, I have that income available to my children, to my family. Then debt management. Please, debt is not a way of life. You must do everything possible to come out of debt if you are in it, because the same thing, when you look at the rule of 72, if you take a loan at 10%, what it means that in every 7 years thereabout, you would have to pay the bank or your lenders that money times 2. And before you know it begins to pile up. I don't know the interest rate for loans back in Nigeria, but I know it's huge too. The emergency fund, put aside 3 to 6 months of your living expenses, that God forbid, if I don't have a job or I don't have something, I can survive. Start building it little by little. You don't have to do it one day. Build it little by little. Before you know what's happening, you'll be amazed how much you put aside. Then, of course, the investment part of it, the saving. The last slide, and so now, if you want a new future, you would have to be a new you today. So all these things you've heard today, probably some of you are already doing it. If you're not doing it, don't beat yourself up. It's not too late. Get into it right now. You cannot be shameful of what is gainful. This is something that is gainful to you and your family. So you want to teach your children this from the day one. Don't be ashamed to sit your children down and tell them the way you are financially, so they can understand and learn too from your own lifestyle. It is the room you create that God will fill. So if you don't create that room for your children, for example, to build a financial empire for themselves, then you're only limiting yourself. There is no mountain anywhere. Every man's ignorance represents his or her mountain. So the truth about it is that the day you know, you're no longer ignorant. So thank you very much for your time. I hope this made some sense to us. I'll give back to Ediri to take over. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ayemere Ogudo. That was awesome. Powerful, powerful presentation. It's never too early to start and never too late to start. So now it's time for Q&A. Q&A. Do you have questions? If you have questions for our guest speaker, please, let's have them. You can send them, type them in the chat room, or if you want to speak, you could raise your hand by using the raise hand tab, and we will unmute your microphone. If you have questions for Mr. Ogudo, please, let's have your question. Your questions, please, in the chat room. So there's a question here. So the parent is concerned. So this is how the question goes. So he or she has been practicing some of the things that you talked about. And he or she has taught the kids about how to make money. And now one of the kids is almost so obsessed with making money that the kid is asking, what are the things that I can, asking for more things to do to make money. wants to start selling products for people, wants to start doing other things, and now the parent is concerned. How do you create that balance for your children so that they are not so into making money that they lose focus of other things like their education and all that? How do you create the balance? Thank you.
Okay, I don't know if this particular child is lagging behind in his or her education. I don't know. Possible he or she is not. For me, basically, let's laugh over this one. What's the goal? It's not for you. Whatever you are doing, it's not for you to be able to generate income. You understand? You want the child to go to school. It's for him or her to be what? To be independent. Be able to get a job or whatever. But you can see that today that unfortunately, a lot of people finish school and they can't even get a job. You understand? So it becomes a struggle. So you need to understand that yes, I understand that the child is now becoming so passionate, so into the money making thing. So basically, what you just need to explain to the child is that while you are very conscious about making money, you also need to have the required knowledge to be able to manage that money. So at that point, the child probably would see education, for example, as a tool that would help him or her to manage the money. I'll give an example. Okay, now you are making money. What if you don't understand the numbers and you go and employ an accountant that is tricky? He or she will just steal all your money. You understand? So the child now says, okay, I think I need to focus on school too, so that way I have that knowledge. I'm making money, but I'm able to balance it with my education. Okay, maybe for example, church. For example, maybe the child is no longer going to church because he or she is making money. You are going to say to him or her that, okay, you know what? Whatever you are doing is because of the blessings of God upon it. If you are not, you can make all the money in the world, but that money can go in a twinkle of an eye if something happens. But for you to have a sustainable stream of income or sustainable wealth, then you depend on God. So there's a part of God in this whole thing. Maybe he or she's not having time for other things in the house. Again, an example. But in this case, from what you are saying right now, it looks like the child wants to exhaust all the jobs in the house. Dishwashing, clothes washing, wash the cars and everything. So for you as a parent, it's a good one for you. One thing I know about life is this: there's what they call law of diminishing returns. At some point in everybody's life, when you learn something, you want to be all over it. But after a while, you begin to slow down a bit. After a while, the child will now begin to slow down a bit and say, okay, you know what? I think I need to focus on some other things. So I would say ride with the tide, with wisdom, so that you don't stop that zeal, that passion in that child. But at the same time, to do it in such a way that that child is able to understand that he or she needs to create time for other things too. For example, I have a full-time job. I also do financial advisory on a part-time basis. I'm also a minister in my church. I also have children to take care of. I just try my best to balance everything, make sure that you create time for all these things at the same time. You don't get too crazy about one and leave the other one. Also create time for your health, create time for other things. So that's all you just need to expose that child to, basically. But trust me, it's a good thing that the child is already so in love with generating income. It's good for you as a parent too. At least they'll take care of all the work in the house for you.
Thank you. So kudos to that parent. Well done. You are doing great already. Do we have more questions for Mr. Ogudo?
Okay, yes, I have a question.
Oh, great. Awesome. Thank you. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Uyi, and I'm dialed in from Canada. Let me first of all start by thanking the presenter, Mr. Ayemere Ogudo. That was a very beautiful presentation, and I think there are so many things to take away from it. So my question here is on the issue of, allowing children generate their own income at a tender age, because I've spoken to a couple of parents, especially abroad, and they feel that the control they have on their kids is the ability to be able to provide for the children. Like when the children want something, they come to them. The children know that they depend on their parents to get certain things. And they feel if it gets to a point where the child is able to fend for themselves and they don't need to depend on their parents anymore, the parents feel that they won't have control over that child anymore. So at what point do you think it is appropriate for parents to allow their kids work and make income? Because the fear is if a child becomes financially independent, especially in this part of the world, if you live abroad, where they teach kids on their rights, they teach kids the things that parents can do and what they can't do. So if parents allow their kids to be financially independent and the child begins to feel, oh, I can do this by myself, I don't really need my dad or my mom, how do you manage those kind of situations?
Okay, thank you, Uyi. You know, it's a double-edged sword, and the truth about it is that there's no right or wrong answer to this. But I've seen it on both sides. For example, where I work right now, we have a lot of young kids who are working with us. The biggest problems we have in the organization today are those young kids in their early 20s and all of that. And you could tell that they were not properly schooled on being independent from the day one. Poor money management. Some of them still live with their parents even in their 20s. You know, if at least you live in Canada here, there are a lot of people that you talk with today who are in their maybe 50s, 60s. They will tell you that they bought their first house when they were 18, 19, 20, 21, and they still work very hard, very respectful people and all of that. You know, but right now you have a lot of children, for example, who are even earning, again, example, some of these kids I'm talking about in my organization, they make close to like $50,000 per annum, but they still live with their parents, sadly, you know. And the reason is because, just like you said, maybe parents just say, I don't do anything, I'll just take care of everything for you and all of that. So they've always seen their money as money to be spent the way they want it. So they started working all of a sudden at a particular age. They had no clue about money management, had no clue about savings, had no clue about investment. And right now they're just enjoying their life. You know, a particular guy in my office, for example, every day lunch, you know, there's Uber Eats that bring food for him. There's no way you order for Uber Eats that you will not spend at least $20 or more. So in a month, that guy is probably spending like $500 on just lunch. I don't know what he's doing for dinner, and I don't even know what he's doing for breakfast. Some of them come to work with 2-3 cups of Tim Hortons every day. A cup of Tim Hortons is about $2 to $4 every day. So by the time you look at it, you discover that that child makes a lot of money, but all the money has gone down the drain. So the question is this: because you want to have financial control over your child, you say, okay, you know what? I won't take the child out to make money. I won't explain the issue. It doesn't need to work, but you may end up training an adult baby who will not be able to understand how money works when he or she grows up. When they start making money, they don't even know what to do with the money. It now becomes a monster to them. So I think the key thing basically is to be able to tell them the why. You know, when I talk to like teenagers, for example, whose parents bring them to come and study and their parents are very rich, I said to them, I said, I know your father can afford to pay your fees. You don't need to work. I know. I said, but please work. Work because, number one, you need to get experience, work experience. You agree with me that some of us today, we are where we are today because of the experiences we had growing up. Tough. You know, even though our parents were rich, some of us, our parents took us through that tough part of life. You know that, okay, you know what? When they give you something, you appreciate it, you value it. It's not because we cannot. You see, it is better for you. I get an example. When I advise my clients, I always try to be very conservative with return on investment. I say, I'd rather tell you that you may make 4%, 5%, and when you now see 20%, you are happy, or 10%, you are happy. It is better for the child to know that, okay, my dad is working hard, is doing a lot of things for me, but I'm still working. Let the child know. But, you know, so that by the time you are handing over that child something that is beyond him or her, he or she knows how to manage it. Financial control can be positive or negative. If you want to control that child too much, okay, what if, let me give an example. What if today you are making a lot of money? What about next year? Something happens, you're not able to make money. You've already grown that child to be a child that does not know how to work, cannot work. Some children cannot do anything for themselves. You know, and I've seen that happen here in Canada. A lot of parents whose children came to school here in Canada from Nigeria, maybe their parents were doing well all of a sudden, maybe contracts were no longer coming in, they lost their jobs. They had to pull them back to Nigeria because they couldn't afford the fees. But if that child knew how to save money, because it's amazing that some of these children, their parents give them as much as 5,000 Canadian dollars every month. when rent is less than 700 and all of that. The children have extra 4,000 to blow every month. Because they don't understand financial concept, they just spend everything. I know there was one particular one that I was told. This one is so pathetic that, you know, when the lady was telling me, he said, when the parents told the boy that he had to be withdrawn back to Nigeria, he said to his parents, "Daddy, don't worry. I was already working." He was working in Walmart. The boy went into working. That was how I was able to pay his fees all through school. And the parents didn't have to pull him back. And he still graduated. So it's, again, every family is different. But I think there's a danger if you don't teach them that. Because at the end of the day, what you can do is that you can control the hours, but expose them to working. Let them work. Let them understand how to work. Let them be in an environment. Let them get their hands dirty. A child who lives in a mansion, all of a sudden, he goes to work on a construction site and is working with people who are not educated as he is. He now sees as a privilege that he has a father or a mother who is providing for him, who is giving him all the things that he wants. He won't mess it up. So it's a like I said, it's a double-edged sword. But I think to a large extent, it's very important that they start making money, you know, putting money aside. Okay, would you want to say something again? Go ahead.
Yes, thank you very much, Ogudo. That was a very beautiful explanation. For me, I think what is really, really very important is parental upbringing.
Your volume is a little bit low.
Hello, your volume is low. It's a bit low.
Sorry.
Okay.
Is this better?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, I was using my headset. So as I was saying, for me, well, thanks for your explanation. It makes a lot of sense. So for me, really, I think what is really very important is parental upbringing. The way you bring up your children matters a lot. And there's a saying that if you bring your children up in the fear of the Lord, bring them up in the fear of the Lord, so that when they grow up, they will not depart from it. Even if I believe that, you know, kids should be allowed to work at a certain age so that they can understand the value of money. At the same time, the parents should monitor the kids. You don't just say, "Oh, my child is working," and you don't care how much they're making, and you don't have any control over it. Even if they work, you should be able to place some parental controls here and there, know how much they're making, and know what they spend the money on, and teach them the habit of saving money and investing. Like, you know, when I was listening to the presentation, I like the fact that you talked about early investment and the potentials you can get from that. So especially in this part of the world, it's good for parents to, you know, for children to know how to work, understand the value of money, have a good saving culture, and also learn investment. Most importantly, the way you bring up your kids to a very large extent, you know, will determine what they'll become in future. So that is my take on this. And thank you very much once again, Ogudo.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for adding that. And that's the honest truth. Parental upbringing is important. That your children are making money does not mean that you should have control over that money too. You know, and don't forget that you've already established some goals with them. So they see the goals too, so they know why they need to put the money aside. Thanks, we appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank
you so much. Thank you, Mr. Ogudo, for that. There's a comment here, very detailed and informative presentation. A very big thank you to the guest speaker. Thank you very much. And there's a question here, says, "Thank you very much for the presentation. I live in Canada and I appreciate everything you said. So powerful. I thought the education savings I'm doing for my baby was awesome, but I've just been challenged to do more. That is, help them save for their retirement. I've never thought about that. Thank you. My concern is, can I find an investment that can give up to 7% return per annum in this part of the world?" That's the question.
Yes, you can. But again, like I said in my slide, and it also depends on your risk appetite. You have my contact. We can talk more about that offline. But the bottom line is this: the more return on investment you're looking for, the more risk you are willing to take. Sincerely, to be honest with you, there are a lot of investment funds that are giving 5%, 6%, 7% so easily. I don't have no disrespect to the bank. I love the banks. They are your first custodian of money. When you make money, that's where your money goes to and all of that. But the banks are not wired, to be honest with you. They are not wired sincerely to really teach us all this financial education. And they may not necessarily have the tools that can help you to get high return on investment. If they do, exploit it. If they don't, look for other opportunities. There are other places. Because have you ever wondered where the banks put your money? When you go and save money in the bank, where do you think they put your money? You think they put your money in the bank and it grows there? No. They put your money into funds. They invest in stocks. They invest in the real estate market. They invest in so many other places. And they generate maybe 10, 15, 20% or whatever. And they now give you whatever they had promised they're going to give to you. So the question is this: the same places they are going to invest, what if you know that place? Won't you go yourself and go and do it yourself? If they are investing in the stock market, for example, why not take some time and study the stock market and say, okay, where do I enter from? So there are places to. The problem is that most of the time, many of us are not willing to take any level of risk. And that's why we just always feel comfortable. Okay, let me just go with whatever I get. So I'm willing to show you more things, maybe outside this session. You have my number. Please reach out to me, then we can talk more.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And kudos for starting up for your children already. It's a good one. Kudos to you. You started well. So all you have to do now is just to build on that and consolidate.
Wow, thank you. And well done to all our parents. So we have his contact details displayed on the screen. We have Mr. Ogudo's contact details displayed on the screen. You can reach out to him after the session for if you need to engage him. Thank you. So I can't see any more questions in the chat room. I think we have exhausted all the questions. I can see a lot of comments here. Nice presentation, great one. We appreciate you, sir. God bless you. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Ogudo. So now we have come to the end of this session, but please just stay with us for just about 2 to 5 minutes. At some point, the beginning of the session, we talked about a new logo that we launched for the Super Moms Foundation, and there was a teaser for our parents to guess what the logo will be. So now it's time for the reveal. It's time to reveal our logo. Wait for it, coming up right about now. Yes, can we see our logo, please? Can we see our logo, please? Yes, thank you very much. So that's our logo, the Super Moms logo. Anywhere you see that logo, it stands for Super Moms. I'll quickly explain what the logo is about. So we have the heart shape, which represents the love, S for super, M, mom, and the 3 dots on top of it represent the family. The green color represents growth, nature, nurturing, health, wealth, harmony. It inspires a feeling of relaxation and healing, which parents give to their children. The yellow represents comfort. It's comforting, a warm embrace, youthful energy, friendliness, positivity, and happiness, which we all want to see in our families. Thank you very much once again to all our parents. Okay, I have some chats that just came in. Oh, thanks for the presentation. Thanks, everyone. Yeah, so there's a book Mr. Ayemere Ogudo spoke about. He made mention of a book, yes. Please, Mr. Ogudo, how do we get that book? Do you have the title of the book? And how can we send that book across to our parents?
So basically, Ediri, if they provide you their email addresses, which I'm sure they can communicate that with you, or you have it, you can forward the book to them as an email. I can forward it to you, you can forward it to them as an email, or they can send me an email and I can send the book to them. It's free, you don't need to pay for it. My younger brother too is part of this session today. He's based in the UK. Thanks, Osella, for joining us. The book is free, you don't need to pay for it. It's more of a talks about financial literacy in Canada and US, but trust me, the concept there can be applied anywhere in the world. Anywhere in the world. So send me an email and I can forward it to you, or you can send Ediri an email, whichever one.
Thank you very much. Yes, we have the email addresses of all the parents here today. We'll send you a copy of the book, and you can also reach out to Mr. Ayemere Ogudo. Thank you, everyone. Thank you to our parents for taking our time to join the session. Thank you, Mr. Ogudo, for a detailed, informative, and very insightful session. Thanks to all our parents. We'll see you again next month, and when we bring another critical and very, very informative topic your way. Thank you. Have a very good afternoon. It's almost evening, and enjoy the remaining part of your workers' day. Thank you, everyone. Bye. Bye-bye. Thank you.